So ask yourself this question, man. How the hell can we remain the dominant economic and
Yeah.
military superpower in the world when we have to borrow money just to pay the interest on our debt and to fund our military?
Yeah.
Why would our foes like China want to, and
To
Russia and
fund
Saudi
our
Arabia, why would they want to borrow us money for us to fund our
attack
military?
them. Right. And attack
Right.
them.
And not protect them, actually push back against them.
Yeah. So that's so
And yeah, so and
it's
then,
crazy.
you look at a comment that Putin made at a conference that he was just at, and he said that the next meeting for the BRICS, which will be in Russia this coming summer, will be dedicated to a fair world order. He said, as a world order based on rules, there are no such rules. In fact, they change every day depending on the current political situation and short-term interests of those who talk about it. So he's basically saying that, the West makes up their rules,
Yeah.
and those rules are what we all have to live by. But this is the rallying cry that is bringing everyone together. And, since 2014, Putin and Xi Jinping have met over 40 times. And this group, this union that really is centered around Putin and Xi Jinping, and then the rest of the BRICS countries, is gaining legitimacy day by day by day. What you got here?
This is Alex Mooney pressing Federal Chairman Jerome Powell about our gold, about the repatriating our gold. He said, this was published on December 15th. He says, you have to respond to these questions in writing no later than January 15th. He gave him exactly 1 month. He says, one, has the Federal Reserve or the Federal Reserve Bank of New York repatriated any gold to foreign nations this year? If so, to which countries and how much? Two, how much gold is in the Federal Reserve vaulting for foreign nations and now, and how does this compare to the amount vaulted at the end of 2022? And three, does the New York Fed statement of November 9th asserting that the Federal Reserve and U.S. Treasury Department did not intervene in the foreign exchange markets during the July to September 2023 quarter cover the gold market as well? And then it goes on to echo his concerns about how citizens deserve to know what's happening with our, with the gold and all this stuff. But
Yeah, so this is one of the things that really got me on this path, because in 2017, well, it started more like in 2014 or 15, the Bundesbank, the German Bundesbank, said to the Fed, give us back our gold. And it took a long time for the Fed to do it. And so by 2017, they were getting really angry, and they were publicly saying, give us back our damn gold. And um, so there's questions as to why it took so long.
3 years
There's
for the
anecdotal evidence that the bars that they sent to them did not match the bars that they were holding. But it was shortly after that the Bank of Austria, Hungary, Turkey, Poland, Czech National Bank, Dutch National Bank, they all did the same thing. They repatriated their gold from the New York Fed and from the Bank of England. And these banks have been doing exactly that, because 2 years later in 2019, gold was revalued as a tier one asset, and which is a riskless asset. So there's no question but that I think, these banks the central banks would hold their gold at the New York Fed and the Bank of England, because it allows them access to the price setting mechanism of the COMEX and the LBMA. And I think as we move closer to some event that will center around gold, we will see, I believe, price setting emerge in other parts of the globe. India just opened up an exchange. You have the Shanghai Gold Exchange, you have the Moscow Exchange, you have the exchange in Dubai. You're going to see price setting move away from the West and move to the East, where these countries are the epicenter of gold and silver. And I think the reason that you don't see as much bitching by these countries for the suppression of the West is that they're on a buying spree. And if you're going to slowly and methodically drain the coffers around the globe, you want there to be Western suppression. You're beating the West at their own game, and they're doing the dirty work for you. by holding down the
Yeah.
paper price because
Yeah.
it
This
is
is
the, it signals fragility in the bond market and the dollar and the whole system. And so that, the people who are accumulating it are saying, great, well, once we have enough and we can't get any more, well, maybe we'll bitch about it then, or maybe we'll just flip the
yeah.
switch and
There you
use
go.
the Shanghai Gold Exchange or one of these other exchanges to set a real price, which
Yeah.
immediately would arbitrage everything in the make-believe Western system over
Yeah.
that way. So yeah,
Right.
we're getting there little by little.
Yeah. Yeah, when I covered the actual, I should have showed the actual article from that because Alex Mooney, he makes some like this wasn't like just a little like, what's happening. He was like, what's going on? He's like, why did it take you 3 years to repatriate? I forget which
The
country it was.
German gold, the
Yeah,
Bundesbank,
three
that's what it was.
years. 3 years. And he's like, what's going on? Citizens deserve to know where's our gold?
Well,
What
not
are
only
we?
that,
Yeah,
and Alex
it's
Mooney has been he's been at the forefront of this. He's
yeah,
done other things too, and including trying to remove all taxes related to precious metals, and he's certainly in our camp.
yeah.
Um,
I've covered him a lot.
yeah, no, he's certainly a good one. But look, I think that you can look at something like Ron Paul, who's tried repeatedly to audit the Fort Knox gold holdings, and he's shot down continuously. And why? And it begs the question: if this is the American, this is the goal of the American people, then why not be forthright about it? And this is
Yeah,
one of the another rallying cry that we're seeing is how opaque our system is, the lack of transparency. And this is why I believe, in order to make this work, which it will, a system that will use gold pegging will have to marry blockchain technology so that you can have transparency and no more promises and opaque. It's kind of like you catch your girlfriend or your wife cheating on you. Okay, fine. I'll forgive you. And then it happens a second and a third time. Well, fine, but well, let me see your phone. No, the phone's locked. Well, the point of it is that that's a very bad analogy. But the point of it
duh.
is that our phone is locked. If we can't show the
Yeah,
world what we're holding, if we're not going to audit it, and if people are going to try to get it back, and it takes 3 years, I mean, well, it seems like the phone is locked and you're hiding something. And that's kind of what I'm getting at here.
yeah,
Shame, you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, how about fool me 37 times? And that's
yeah,
kind of what we're getting at. And I give a lot of credit to a guy like Alex Mooney, who is a lone voice
yeah.
up there with Rand and Ron Paul, who have tried to inject a little bit of transparency and authenticity into this system, and you can see the pushback. And
Do
this is why power is slowly slipping from the West, because we are losing the one thing that, if you lose, might be harder to get back than anything, and that is trust. And I think we are losing the
yeah,
trust and the confidence of the world,
yeah,
and certainly the good graces of our foreign creditors, who have allowed us to live beyond our means for a very long time. And instead of clinging to what it would be to be an American and to enjoy the world reserve status and to be the center of free trade and to be the beacon of light and democracy around the globe, we are doing everything we can to piss on that. And it's very disheartening, I think, when you look at it from the lens of a patriot. And I am a patriot. I'm someone this country has given more to than I could ever hope for. And the opportunities this country has given me, I mean, my father and I are the least likely cast of characters to have ever achieved what we did. My dad was a hippie. I was a halfway decent student, but never would have dreamed in my life that we would end up here. And it's because of the opportunities this country has given me. I am not someone who doesn't notice that, but that's what makes this whole thing much more disheartening, is the decisions we are
yeah,
making. A guy
yeah,
like Alex Mooney is a beacon of light in what is a really cesspool of darkness in Washington. So God bless Alex Mooney, and everyone should support him. I
yeah,
think he's awesome.
yeah. The scary because when I was covering this article the other day, I was talking about how this it's kind of scary because even if Federal Chairman Jerome Powell does respond honestly and it exposes a lot of dirty secrets, that's going to be dangerous within itself, So whether it's the truth or the hiding secrets, I feel like both ways are going to be bad.
Well, and at the same time that the Fed is being reluctant to repatriate other countries' gold, you have central bank gold buying at the highest it's ever been, ever
Yeah.
in history. And you have China, which is, bought record amounts of gold over the first 9 months of the year. And it's crazy. So, it's 12 tons they've bought in the first 9 months of the year. And that's just what they report. A lot of the gold they buy,
Yeah.
they don't report. And all the gold they're mining, they don't report. And that's why guys like Alistair McLeod will tell you that they have close to 40,000 metric tons, 5 times what we supposedly have. And, of which half of it's owned by the people and half of it's owned by the government. And you go to China and you go into a mall and 80% of the stores are gold shops. And you go in, you look at the back of a bus and there's advertisements for buying gold. You go into a bank, you buy Chinese pandas right there. They are a country who understands what gold represents. And there's an old saying, I don't know how old it is, but it's a lot older than me. And that is, he who has the gold makes the rules. And I think that's kind of what the East is understanding and what the West has forgotten, unfortunately. A guy like Alex Mooney hasn't, and
Yeah.
God bless the guy for saying that.
Yeah. I like that. He who has the gold makes the rules. That is cool. It's so true. Like it really is determined. I mean, I forget what I was watching the other day, but they were talking about how gold is basically how we determine a country's wealth. Like it's not how much money you print off. We determine it off gold. And if you apply that to a person basis, whoever has more gold is the one wealthier than the person that has millions in their bank account.
Well, I mean, look at
Uh,
the United States. Everyone assumes that we're so wealthy, but look at
right.
our balance sheet. We
Yeah.
have 5 trillion in assets, of which 40% is student debt. Yes, that's right. You heard me. The US government considers student debt to be an asset. And so you take that out, that's 1.6 trillion. You take that out, we have just over 3.5 trillion in assets backing 150 or more trillion in debt. 34 trillion on balance sheet, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and government military pensions. We are above 150 trillion in debt. We are insolvent. We're broke. And so,
Yeah.
how wealthy are we? We are a country
Yeah.
that has had the ability to print money at will. So yes, we have the appearance of being very
Yeah.
wealthy, but in essence, it's all an illusion. It's all a
Yeah.
mirage. And this is why you're seeing the central banks buy more gold than ever. It's not just gold, too. I mean, look at silver. You
Yeah.
have, as an example, India, right? India bought 304 million ounces of silver last year, and we talked a lot about that. They also bought 60 million ounces in October and 20 million ounces in November. So they've bought another 80 million ounces that we know of
Yeah.
already this year. They've bought 400 million ounces of silver in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And so think about that for a second. That's way more than is on the whole COMEX ecosystem. These
Yeah.
countries are using the bullshit suppression of the Western market against us. These countries understand that in the end, he who has the gold and silver and the world's commodities make the rules. And the same thing is true about lithium and cobalt and nickel and copper. All of these items are either being accumulated by or are largely found in the ground of these nations that are joining the BRICS. So we haven't thought this whole plan through very well, where we are reliant for importing the majority of these hard assets that one would need to develop a war chest. And that's why you're seeing these things being done methodically and slowly and not rushing to buy up as much as you can to alert everyone that this is
Right.
what's going on. It's a much more strategic game of, misdirection, I guess you could say.